Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going into the forest tonight with the Tennessee Sasquatch man, Darrell Denton, one of my favorite people in this planet of Bigfoot knowledge. This guy's awesome. You are going to love him tonight. But first, we need to say hello to each and every one of you. Why? Because you guys are important. You are, like eternity eternal in the gold medal position. Necessary dialogue with a silver. T-Bone taking home a bronze medal. And then we got Kitty Caddywhack. And then we have Race Fan. Then we have Robert Lamoth and Paula Fost. Paula Fost will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Moving on down, Thunderhead, how are you tonight? And who is next? Mel WD-40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because Darrell Denton will not come on this show unless he's nice and lubed. So Mel is over in Darrell's studio right now, lubing him up as we speak. Mel, don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Necessary dialogue. Gear Jammers, Michael Morris, the attorney at large. How you doing? Lisa Smith, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, and Frankie B. Nice to have you all here tonight. Flubber Lane, how are you? As we continue on with our roll call. Flat 6, nice to see you. Bill Sardellis, good to have you here. And who is this? Gimpit, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Look who it is, people. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Jaquetta, thank you for coming on in. Ozzy, hold on. Aussie Boss Tiger, how are you tonight? Tyler 420, Integrationing. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Nice to see you. Honest Content, Kiwi DJ, and Digger Dog, thank you for coming on in. Desert Rat, nice to see you. Walter Kochabinski, good to have you here. Lee Lebrecht, how you doing? Lee Lebrecht, I like saying that. Good name. Solid name. Jessica S. Nice to see you. Undead Jed, good to have you here. As we scroll on down on our roll call, Doc from Wyoming. You get to listen to one. You know what, Doc? You're going to be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Moving on down. Oh, look, Area 54 kicking off the super chat tonight. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Area 54. Oh, it's Area 55 today. Wes, I forgot. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Area 55. Happy birthday to you. And you know what, Wes? It's also my son's 13th birthday. So happy birthday. You and him share a great day. Great day. PJ Lapierre, how you doing? Welcome back. I don't know why I'm struggling to speak tonight. Pam Harris, Auntie Aaron, how are you guys? And Feed Me Seymour. Arcon, nice to have you here. And who else is here? Gory Tiger. Thanks for coming on in. Let's get the radio and podcast side going here, guys. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got Darrell Denton up top here, about to talk about Texas Dogman or Tennessee Dogman, Tennessee Bigfoot. We're going to have a great show with him tonight. We are in roll call on our YouTube side. And Mel WD40, thank you for that lovely super chat as well. We really appreciate that, bud. In between rubbing down Darrell there. That's good. Gary's Place, welcome to SOR chat. As we move on down, Magnus, nice to see you. Paramarv, always a pleasure, buddy. And let's see here. I think we're almost caught up. Do yourself a favor. It is that time of the night where I ask each and every one of you to throw your horns up. Just like that. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shh, be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's that really happening next. We're together, friends. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wires, check out our swag as well. You can find us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Come join us in the heart of British Columbia, September 18th through 20th for Caribou Con. You can get your VIP tickets right now at cariboucon.com. We have an amazing show coming up tonight. We're heading to Tennessee, where the Bigfoot and Dogman roam. Darrell Denton is going to join us momentarily to talk about these amazing creatures in the cryptid world. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Follow that up. Robin Haynes will be in for the cryptid Q&A, so it's going to be a jam-packed show on monsters and legends tonight. Darrell Denton is one of the great people in this field. When you meet Darrell for the first time, literally, it would be like you've known him forever. And he's not just a friend or somebody to talk to. He's like an immediate adopted brother. That's how awesome this guy is. Darrell's life changed forever back in 1992 when he experienced his first cryptid encounter in the forest of his home state of Tennessee. The event was so profound and unsettling that it kept him out of the woods and away from hunting for the next 7 years. What began as a frightening encounter would eventually become the catalyst for a lifelong journey into the unknown. Years later, while fishing, Darrell had a second encounter that would alter his perspective entirely. Over time, he developed a relationship with what he refers to as a family of forest people, opening the door to a deeper understanding of these mysterious beings. An experiencer, as well as a dedicated researcher, Darrell has accumulated numerous encounters throughout the years. In 2018, he established contact with another clan of forest people, but the experience took a troubling turn when some members reportedly followed him home, terrorizing his farm and property for 4 months. Today, Darrell continues his field research, focusing much of his work in the legend of the land between the lakes, one of America's most active regions for Bigfoot, Dogman, and other unexplained phenomena. Literally one of the greatest and nicest people you could ever meet. Darrell Denton, I love you, my brother, and I'm so glad to have you back on Spaced Out Radio.
Well, it's an honor to be here, Dave. I tell you what, with that introduction, I couldn't feel any better. Appreciate you for having me, my good friend.
for people who may be listening to you for the first time, let's go back to 1992 while you were hunting. What happened?
Well, that was on my grandfather's farm. Me and three of my buddies went up there every year for opening week of black powder, or muzzleloader as we called it. And we had about a 5 mile area to hunt. My grandfather didn't own all that land, but he had a nice sized farm. But his adjoining neighbors would allow us to hunt. There wasn't many hunters in that area. It's a very rural area. And my grandfather pointed a spot where I could probably get a trophy deer that year. And I'd never been that far in. It was about an hour walk to his old home place where it was at. It was a clearing in the woods. And to shorten the story a little bit, I took my climbing stand over there the day before and found the area he was talking about. And I put it around a tree, and I had everything set up to hunt the next day, opening day of black powder season. And next morning he woke me up, and I headed that way. It was down behind his house through a gate across a field where his cows were, about a 200-yard wide sage field, and get to a wire fence, and there's barbed wire on top, and I had to climb over that and jump over into the leaves and start up the hillside. And those hillsides in that area are like 45-degree angle. They're very steep. And it was a pretty good walk. And I got started up that hillside, and I heard something walking to the left of me. And it didn't sound like a horse or a cow. It sounded like a person, and sounded bipedal. And I immediately stopped and shined my flashlight in that area, and didn't see anything. And I kept it shined there for quite a bit, just trying to see what that was, because it sounds so much like a human. And I couldn't imagine anybody being in that area hunting. Kept going and got all the way over to the bottom of the third hill, and walked around the side of a creek, and I found my tree stand I'd put around the tree the day before, and I climbed up, I got in my stand, and I have a rope that hooks to my belt loop, and it's got a hook. It's got a clip on the end that I clip to my black powder rifle. And when I get all the way to the top of where I usually hunt, it's about 28 feet, the length of that rope. And I then, when I've set my stand back and dig it into the tree real good, where the blade will hold it tight in the tree, I reached behind me and put my safety strap I'd put on up there the day before, and hung my binoculars and my fanny pack with a black powder horn and Hornady bullets that were set for preload on my muzzleloader. If I had to fire it, I have to ramrod it and load it with powder, and put the firing cap on there. It's about I'm pretty quick with it, maybe 2 minutes. That's my best time. And got ready to hunt. And about daylight that morning, it was foggy. There's a creek that I was looking over into the clearing where his old home place was. I could see the tin roof that had fallen in, the old house had, and you could see the chimney still standing. It's a clearing in the middle of the woods, and next to a creek that used to be a grist mill on it that had been abandoned back in the 1930s. And pretty good sized deep creek, about 10 or 12 foot wide, runs all year round. And I was ready to hunt. And to the left of me is a long, tall, deep thicket of what we call cane. It looks like bamboo, but it's called cane in Tennessee. And it grows about 15 or 16 foot tall. And as the fog broke over the creek that morning, it was a bright sunny day, and I could also see a tree limb across the creek from where I was at to the right that I'd hung a drag rag on the day before, which has deer scent on it. And it's about 8 foot off the ground or a little more, and it kind of fumigates down that hollow, and hopefully will cover up human scent and maybe bring a male buck deer in to the area. And I'm sitting there waiting for the hunt to begin. Now I'm on a 45-degree angle hill. Really steep and straight up in a tree. I'm almost overlooking the creek, the angle I'm setting. And then I noticed off to the left of me a large doe, come out of the cane thicket somewhere around to the left of me. It kind of went around a bend, and I lost the thicket went all down the side of that creek, but came out of that cane thicket, cane thicket in that area somewhere, and walked through the creek and went up on top of the bank on the other side, and there's a game trail on top of it, and it walked all down the side of that game trail almost. I'm looking straight down on it. I'm probably 70 foot from it. And it's just looking for acorns like deer do. It had a large harvest of acorns that year, and it was kicking its hoofs into leaves and finding acorns to eat like deer do. And shortly after that, a couple more young deer came out the same area. They looked like probably yearlings from this deer from a prior year, and all three of them milled around in the leaves and ate acorns and acted normal as any deer would. And I watched them for a good while, probably 30 minutes or longer, and then all of a sudden the large doe froze, didn't move at all, and all three of the deer were just frozen still, like they couldn't move. They were staring straight over into that cane thicket somewhere, and I could see they were startled or something. I'm thinking immediately it's a large buck deer, and that's my thought. And these deer are staring, and then all of a sudden the large doe raised her ears were flickering for a while. Normally that means they're trying to hear something or they've seen something in that area that they do or don't like. And then she raised her right leg and took her hoof and pounced the ground 3 times like she was trying to get something to move over in there. And then just froze up and kept staring over in there for a little longer. And I looked, the other 2 deer were the same way. They were froze on that area and really fixated on something in that area trying to move. And I'm excited thinking it's a large buck deer that's about to come out of this cane thicket. And all of a sudden the large doe raised her head up and made a large blowing sound. It sounds like somebody sneezing almost, but a lot louder, especially in a hollow where it echoes. And that's what it did. And it was very loud. And then brought her head back down and stared over there again, just real quietly froze, staring at something. And then for no reason at all, she turned to the right, ran right across in front of me with the 2 younger doe following her, running like somebody had shot at them. She running in a frantic manner, which deer don't normally do that unless somebody spooks them or does fire at them. And I watched them run to the right of me off into the hardwoods until they vanished out of sight. And I'm excited. I'm thinking, well, there's a big buck deer about to come out of that cane thicket over there.
Who wouldn't be excited at that point?
I've got a bar in front of me that pulls up off my stand and has a camo cover that goes from right under my neck all the way down past my feet. And my gun, which was tied to the rope that I put in between there, is leaning against the bar. And I reached up with my gun gently and pulled it back and pulled the hammer down on it, thinking this big buck's about to come out of here. And I watched, and all of a sudden I noticed the very back of the cane thicket. This stuff's probably 14, 15, 16 foot tall, and it starts moving. 6 or 7 of them from the back. It's moving. This is real strong, thick stuff. It's hard to walk through it. And something is coming from the back through the middle of it, and it's coming to the edge, about to step out. And I'm thinking this is one massive buck deer right here to move that cane like that. I'm really excited, and I'm staring over in that area, and all of a sudden the cane stops and nothing's moving, and a creature steps out. And I could not believe what I was looking at. I looked at it several times and blinked my eyes. Am I really seeing this? I've never seen anything like that. And this thing takes one step and leaps across the stream, the creek in front of me there, 10 or 12 foot wide creek, and lands on the game trail on top of the other side. Not in a hurry, slowly maneuvering down, not in a hurry, walk straight down. I'm kind of overlooking the creek at the angle I'm at. This creature walks straight, stops, turns, and looks right at me, right in my eyes. It knew exactly where I was at. That's what I'd heard coming in. And I'd realized that then. And this thing is really angry. I've never seen anything like that. One side of its mouth was either deformed or it had some type of accident because it was kind of disc contortion compared to the other side. It was kind of a squiggly like up the side of its right side of its mouth, where the other side was more of a normal. Um, this thing is growling and showing me its teeth. It's gritting its teeth and staring right at me, and it's super angry. You can tell it by the look on its face, and it's just fuming mad. And I don't understand why it's so mad at me, but it acts like it wants to kill me. And I've never seen a creature like that. I've been around bear, hogs, cats, about every animal that's in the North American woods, and I can tolerate them, but I've never seen anything that frightened me like this thing did. And
Why
then it just,
Darrell, sorry for cutting you off there, but why do you think it was so aggressive towards you?
well, knowing what I know today, then I didn't know. It was my first encounter and the first time I'd ever seen one of these creatures. I truly think that, like my grandfather will tell, well, I'll say what he said later, these things are very territorial. I was in its area. Nobody probably been back in that area in 30 years or longer. And it lived there, and I probably kind of messed its hunt up. It was probably after one of the deer that I was hunting. So that's what I think. And I know now from what I know from my years of experience since then, if it wanted to get me, it could have. So anyway, this creature walks right over to where the drag rag is, stays on that game trail, reaches up, smells it, and it's about the same height as its head, about 8 foot or a little better. And it just rips that whole tree limb out of the tree. And it's not a massive tree limb. It's probably 2 or 3 inches in diameter where it went into the base of the tree. But it takes a lot of strength to do that. And it just threw it on the ground. And it takes 5 or 6 steps, stops right back where it was, turns and starts looking at me again. And again, it's growling and showing me its teeth. And it's so angry looking. I'm thinking this thing's going to come across the creek and pull me out of this tree. And again, I had my finger on my 50 caliber black powder rifle, thinking, well, should I pull this up and shoot this thing? If I do shoot it and don't kill it, it's all it's going to do is make it mad, and I'm not sure that one bullet will kill this thing. And I was trying to figure out what to do on that situation. I even considered jumping out of the tree and running. I didn't really know what to do. So I sit there and trying to figure what to do. And then all of a sudden the creature lets out a unbelievable scream that turns into a yell. And it was so loud, my chest vibrated. It was echoing down that hollow that I was in. And it just continued to echo. It was so loud. And then it turned and looked at me. And I by this time, I'm just trying to breathe because I was at the state of shock almost. I couldn't even breathe. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I thought it was coming across the creek for sure now after it let out that scream. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'm gonna fire on this thing if it takes a step across that creek. That's the only chance I've got. And then out of nowhere, it turns, starts walking, turns around and starts walking away. It turns and looks at me one time as I'm sitting in the tree, kind of acknowledging, hey, I could have got you, but I didn't. And I watched it walk probably a good 2 or 3 minutes until it disappeared into the hardwoods. And by that time, I thought, this is my only chance. I better get out of this tree before this thing comes back. And it takes a good 15 or 20 minutes to go down a tree like that with a climbing stand. And I lowered the bar in front of me, took my safety strap off around me, left my equipment in the tree, and jumped out of the top of the tree stand, 28 feet, hit the leaves on that 45-degree angle, slid all the way into the creek with almost waist high water, and had my gun over my head and went up out of the creek and took off running as hard as I could up that hillside. And by the time I got to the top of the first hill, I was so out of breath that I just couldn't go anymore. I just stopped for a minute. And these hills are really steep and long, and I didn't see the creature coming, so I crossed the hill, and I was going down the hill, and I just started up the second hill and running as hard as I could, and I looked up on the hill behind me, and there stood the creature again. And I thought, well, this thing's coming after me. It's going to run me down and catch me. And that just kicked more adrenaline in me, and I just took off I gave it all I could give. And I don't think I've ever run that fast and that hard. And across the second hill, I'm going down the second hill. Looking back, I don't see the creature. By the time I get to the top of the third hill, I stop just a minute to get a little breath. I look back, I do not see the creature. Then I take off running down the third hill to the bottom, and I've got to stop and climb over that 7-foot fence with barbed wire on top, and I wasn't stopping. I jumped the barbed wire fence full stride. Caught my bottom leg of my pants, ripped it all the way past my knee, and cut a big gash in my leg, and hit the ground running, and didn't even know I'd cut myself. And crossed that roughly 200-yard wide sage grass field that my grandfather kept his cows in, and looking back continuously to make sure this thing wasn't coming, and I didn't see it. Got to the other side and went through the gate and reached through and locked it back, and took off running again to my grandfather's back porch on his old wood farmhouse, and went through the back door and reached through and blacked the screen's door with the little latch, and then shut the big door and locked it, and looked out the glass through the window, did not see the creature, and ran through the kitchen there to the right into the living area. My grandfather was sitting on the left in a rocking chair, and over to the right in the corner was, between the corner and the middle of the living room was a big potbelly stove, and it was going, and it was warm because it was very cool outside. And I went over and sat down in the corner there, and I was just so out of breath I couldn't speak. And my granddad kept saying, "Boy, what's wrong with you? Boy, what's wrong with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." And I couldn't talk. I was just so out of breath. And finally, I got myself together a little bit after 4 or 5 minutes, and I got up and went into the kitchen and got a glass of spring water, and came back and sat on the couch. And my granddad said, "Boy, you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I seen a monster in the woods." And he said, "A monster?" He said, "There ain't no monsters in these woods." And I said, "Oh, yeah, what I seen was a monster." What it looked like. And I told him, and I described it to him, how big it was and what it looked like. And he goes, "Oh, you seen a wood booger?" And I said, "A wood booger?" I said, "I've lived on this farm nearly all my life. Every summer when I'm out of school, helping you with the crops, tobacco, everything, hay, and you've never mentioned anything about a wood booger to me." He says, "Nope, I didn't want you to know because it'd keep you out of the woods. You'd be frightened of them, and you wouldn't spend the night in the barn, and you wouldn't camp out with your friends, and you wouldn't be fishing and frog gigging the creeks around here, and that's why I didn't tell you." He said,
Darrell, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here. Wood boogers, Dogman, and much more. The Tennessee cryptid hunter Darrell Denton is here tonight, and man, can he tell a story. I love this guy. I know you're going to love his information too. We're going to continue with his encounters when we return on Spaced Out Radio. All right, buddy. We are clear. Quick shout out to Chris Irvin. How you doing? And who else has jumped in here? Downtown Brucey Brown. Nice to see you. And I think we're caught up.
Bruce Brown's my close friend.
Oh man. Does he go hunting out there with you?
I'll tell you what, Bruce Brown's had probably more Dogman encounters than anybody I've ever known.
Then we gotta get Bruce Brown on the show then.
He's a Putnam County, Tennessee, former detective and sheriff's department deputy, and just a really close friend of mine.
Yeah, Bruce. I think Bruce was in here the other night when Jessica Jones was on the show.
Yeah.
She said that Bruce is absolutely brilliant. So we got to get him on the show.
Yeah, he's a great guy, really good friend. I did a town hall meeting with him a couple months ago out in Tennessee, and just a super guy. I think the world of him.
Could you do me a favor and pass him my phone number?
I sure will. I'll get him hooked up with you.
Bruce could text me and we could get things going.
Yeah, be glad to do that for you, Dave.
Appreciate that. Hope you don't mind, Bruce. We're talking behind your back here. Illumino Hotto, how are you? Blue Cruz, nice to see you. Jason Finch, good to see you. Here you go, Darrell. BJ Lapierre says, I don't know if Darrell can see the chat or not, but hi there, Darrell. Great to see you.
How you doing, my good friend? Thanks for being on here and watching. She is such a sweetheart. She was at the Pennsylvania conference last week when I was speaking, and what a sweet, honest, great person. She does some Bigfoot coloring books, and they're absolutely awesome.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Really enjoyed spending some time with her. My Rosie and I did. She was just a super nice lady.
I love Rosie. Not gonna lie, you got a good lady there, my friend.
Well, she thinks the world of you too, buddy.
Thank you.
And Janelle.
Yeah. Hey, what was I gonna ask you? I wonder if I can pull. No, we don't need that tonight. When are you going back out in the woods? Darrell?
Probably. I don't do much in the woods this time of year because there's so much foliage and there's so many ticks. And when I say ticks, when you go to the LBL, one time one of my teammates had over 200 ticks embedded in his back. And
oh my goodness.
And it took his wife the entire day to get them all off. And they're those little tiny seed ticks that are very difficult off. And with all this new stuff going on with the ticks, I'm sure you've heard of this new alpha thing that stops you from eating red meat for the rest of your life, all this strange stuff. That's another conspiracy I could get into, so I don't know how that ever even came about. But
when are you going to the LBL?
We go. I haven't been to the LBL as much this year as normal but I will be going again though. This probably in July. I'll be there with Martin Groves and Ron Moorhead, and maybe good chance Mike Smith and possibly even Barton Nunley.
Oh my God, I would love to hang out with you guys.
Well, they've been my team a long time. Mike's kind of joined us in the last year, and he's just a super guy too. So, Dave, you've always got an invitation to come down and visit.
You.
So,
yeah, maybe in the fall. I might be able to make some time in the fall. Give me
our research time is end of October till the 1st of May.
Yeah. I think fall might work good for me. Once I get done my area here, maybe November.
Yeah.
Let's quickly say hello to who jumped in here. JDS, how you doing? And Scoos, nice to see you. Scoos. And thank you to our super chatters, Area 55 and Mel WD40. We appreciate you guys. We're coming back in 10 seconds here. We are coming back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Darrell Denton is our guest, Tennessee Bigfoot man. My name is Dave Scott. Let's talk some monsters. But first, I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here he is, the Tennessee Bigfoot man. Darrell Denton is here, hanging on out, and he was telling us a story right before the break about encountering what they call a wood booger, and his grandpa holding back the story from him until he said, well, yeah, we knew it was going to happen. Darrell, I mean, what was your reaction to your grandpa when you said that?
Well, I was pretty shocked because he and I were really close, and he always was pretty straight up with me about everything. And my granddad had a lot of influence on me. I lived with him when I was a young boy, and while my parents worked in Nashville, about 98 miles from Nashville, roughly, the rural area we lived in, and I always trusted and believed in him. He always told me, son, your word's everything, and you better always make it good. And I live that still today. And I was kind of shocked my granddad hadn't told me, but I also understood. He told me, he said, I've seen 4 of these creatures in my lifetime up close, and I've heard a lot more and seen parts of other ones walking through the woods over my lifetime. But I'll be working in a field plowing with a mule and my plow, and I'll see one standing there watching me, and they watch me while I'm working, and then they just walk off. And we sit on the front porch when you were a kid, and you would say, "What's that screaming noise, Granddad?" And I'd say it's an old catamount. That's what my granddad called them too. And well, the catamount turned out to be the woodburger, and my granddad said they would come to the house in the wintertime when they were hungry. There wasn't a lot of food that time of year, and they'd take 3 or 4 hens from the hen house, and they'd leave a little pile of sticks and rocks like they were paying for them. So my granddad was pretty tolerant with them, and he believed they had a place, and he let them live on his property, and they seemed to get along pretty well.
You think that one then would have probably recognized you?
I had never seen one at that time. I'm sure they'd seen me because I've been on that property since I was I was born not far from there, and I stayed there a lot when I was a little boy because I got to school age, and I was there about every summer helping my granddad with the tobacco crop and hay and gardening or whatever else he needed. So until I got old enough to work and do other things. But then I still went up there and helped him. But I'm sure it may have, but I've never seen one before. And I've still, to this day, never seen a creature as ugly and as mean as that one I seen that day. And I hope I never see another one of those. It was most evil thing I've ever seen. I just know it's hard to explain how mean it looked.
I'm sure you've been asked this question hundreds of times since you started this 30 years ago. Why do you put yourself in harm's way looking for cryptid creatures?
Well, I really didn't at first. And of course, my first experience was complete accident. I never knew I was going to run into a woodbugger, deer hunting on my grandfather's farm. But the second thing that happened to me is when I was fishing on the Cumberland River, a long way from there, not real far from my house, but it's a very rural area. And I ran into those creatures again there, and I didn't want to run into another one. And took me about 3 or 4 weeks before I'd found out that it was one of these creatures instead of a person. I thought it was a person stealing my minnow bucket, but it was one of these creatures, and it's a good thing really because they gave me a whole different outlook, and I realized that all these creatures aren't the same, and there's good and bad in everything. So I had a whole new outlook about them after that particular experience. Then pretty much Bigfoot. A lot of my friends would call me because they knew I was into it, and if anytime they'd heard about any type of creature, they would ring me and get me to go with them. Um, you know, 2017, 18, we had a family of Bigfoot not real far from my house. Me and Billy Howell, one of my old research partners, and um, actually Charlie Raymond of Kentucky Bigfoot Research came down with us too, and stayed a few nights and camped that area. But those creatures were completely different than they were more aggressive like the first one, but didn't look like the first one. They weren't friendly like the ones on the river, which I call the forest people. And that's the ones that followed me home. I'm thinking they followed me home from there because we quit going there for a couple of weeks, and that's when it happened. It went on for a total of about 4 months, about 2.5 months. It was really bad. They were banging on my house and scaring my animals to death, and even killed a bunch of cats that I had, and scared my horses to death. And the late great Scott Carpenter helped me get rid of them, and he was a friend of mine, and he knew what I was going through there. And I called him, and he told me to rebuke them, and that's what finally got rid of those. There was 2 or 3. I'm not never sure exactly if it was 2 or 3 of them, but for some reason I did nothing to them, but they were just after me, and I thought they were trying to kill me. So I thought they were going to come through the door. I was up every night in my hallway with a 270 automatic and a 357 Magnum, waiting for them to try to come through the door. Thank gosh my kids weren't there, and they were living with their mother, and it was pretty crazy for a good while there. But I've had a lot of encounters, a lot of experiences over the years. I don't know why or how that has seemed to happen to me, but I'm very spiritual, and my grandmother was very spiritual on my father's side, and she believed in a lot of things happen to certain people, and some reason I seem to be one of those. And I got really into research with Martin Groves. He's been one of my best friends for way over 40 years. And back in 92, after I had my encounter, you couldn't tell anybody. There wasn't any podcast or radio shows or groups or anybody you could talk to about it. Everybody you talked to about seeing a Bigfoot thought you were crazy. So I was an elected official at that time, so I didn't talk much about what I'd seen. 4 months later, my best friend Martin Groves had an encounter in Land Between the Lakes where 2 Dogman and 2 Bigfoot tried to kill him and his partner. So I guess I would call that a fortunate situation for me, but not for him. So he and I would go to lunch and talk about it. He would tell me a little bit what happened and try to clear his head a little bit. He was a little bit PTSD. He didn't tell his full story until 2022. He just told me parts of it for years and what went on. And I did the same with him with mine. And he was about the only person I could lean on, and I was the only one he could lean on at that time. He would have been a law enforcement, and me being an elected official. You don't want anybody to think you're off your rocker when you start talking about these creatures. And some people don't believe in them, and some people still don't believe in them today. But that's everybody's priority. I know they're real. I know they exist, and there's a whole lot of other things out in the woods that people don't want to know.
What's scarier, looking for Bigfoot or looking for Dogman?
Well, I've been in some areas around Bigfoot, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Um, I think that was early as 2021, and those were not too bad, but they followed me. I got lost in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I was lost in there for about 2 nights and 3 days, and I got pretty nervous and think I was going to find my way out of there. But they scared me a little bit because they were following me, but they didn't try to harm me. But the presence of that many of them, 3 or more, being close to me like that, not knowing their intentions, because you don't know the intentions of all these creatures. I mean, some of them are good and some of them aren't. And quite frankly, I think some of them I'm a believer of what Scott Carpenter, well, I believe some of them would probably have you for dinner. And I don't believe they're all good. And same way with Dogman. I've seen 4 Dogmen. I've seen the first one in Virginia in 2020, I think it was. That was the first one I seen. And the other ones have been in the land between the lakes, and probably the scariest. I don't think there's anything would ever top my first experience when the wood boogers. It absolutely terrified me. That creature did. But the dog man that Martin Groves and I seen in October of 2023, close to the area where he was attacked, that was 29 years. We were there for that reason. It was an anniversary of that happening. We were going to that area. We didn't get quite that far. We were in the right direction when we spotted that creature. And when we were in his truck on the old gravel dirt road, and we'd been in the LBL for 3 days, and we were barely moving on this road. You can't drive fast on them anyway. And I looked over to the right in this creek, at a creek bottom, and kind of next to a ravine, there was this huge creature laying there. And it was the strangest thing I've ever seen. It went from kind of a blue and red mist into a silver-looking creature. It was like a mist was around it, and then it was just silver colored, and each tips of its hair were kind of lit like with light. It's hard to explain. Its head was half the size of our truck windshield.
Holy cow.
It was huge, and it had mane around its neck like a lion. And it's laying in the ditch, but it's laying in a position like it's going to pounce on me, like a cat looks. I can't see its feet because it's down in the grass around the rocks. But I thought I'm 5 to 7 foot from this thing. My window's down and my arms out, and when I spotted it, and I could have touched it, and it's just staring at me with these eyes, evil-looking eyes, but it had almost a grimace on its face. And its eyes looked like real deep, clear flashlights. They were just clear and deep. And I looked over at Martin, and I was about to tell him, "Are you seeing this thing?" And he already had looked at me, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I see it." And about that time, we got infrasounded or zapped, whatever you want to call it. I've been done that way 3 times. Twice by Bigfoot and once by Dogman, being that time. And it hit Martin a lot worse than it did me. He was coughing and saying he couldn't breathe. His throat was swelling together. He was trying to drive. Me, I had a really bad headache. My upper chest felt like somebody was standing on it, and my legs felt like they were asleep. And I remember that we had discussed if that ever happened to us again, if we start praying to Jesus Christ, and when that's affecting us like that, we will come out of it a lot faster. And that is very true. I started doing that, started praying, "Jesus, let me out of this now," because I was afraid this creature was going to jump in the window and attack us. And I got to feeling pretty good, better and better quickly compared to Martin. He couldn't hardly move. I thought he was going to choke to death. He said, I can't breathe. My tongue is swelled up. My throat's swelled together. I said, let me drive and turn this truck around and get us out of here. Meantime, I've got this creature to the right of me, and I've got my flashlight in my hand. I've shined down into there, and this thing gets up. It walks around past me, walks around behind the back of the truck. It didn't walk, it like glided. And then it went behind the truck. Then it goes around the left side to where Martin's at, but it crossed over through the ditch and it's walking through this field, probably 25, 30 feet from the truck. And I reached out and shined my light through the extra cab part of the window, and I can't see it good. And then I shine it past Martin because he's bent down on the steering wheel, and this thing's looking right at us. But at the same time, it's a creature in full form, but it's also transparent. I can see the light going through it.
Oh my!
I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. And
That is so
I,
weird.
I'm trying to get Martin. I'm worried he's going to pass out or possibly die. And finally, we get the truck turned around. We get back about 2 miles from there off the trace is the road that runs from one end of the LBL National Forestry to the other end to a camp check-in station for deer. They got a bunch of big lights there that's lit up, and they have a restroom right there. And I got Martin out of the truck, got him in the restroom, and got some water, and he started feeling a little better. He was breathing anyway, and we both sat there and talked about what we had just seen. We couldn't believe what had just happened to us, and um, it took him about 2 weeks to get over that. He was sick for about 2 weeks, and um, I got over mine by that night. I was in pretty good shape later on that night. That was probably 12 o'clock at night, right at that time, and by 5 or 6 the next morning, I was in pretty good shape. But he was sick for 2 weeks, and quite frankly, he was sick the whole next year. I don't know if it had anything to do with that or not, but it was pretty frightening. But I will say my first encounter, nothing will ever top that. But this would be second.
When you were looking for Sasquatch or Dogman, as we talk with Darrell Denton, the Tennessee cryptid hunter here on Spaced Out Radio, what are the differences between the two in the forest?
Well, I have to relate that on who I'm with, and I'm normally always with my team. I haven't researched the last year or two like I did for many, many years, but when we do go, we make it special, and we make sure we get out and ride the roads in certain areas, and then we get out and walk in other areas. And the dog man, if I'm with Martin Groves, which I normally am, when I'm researching the Land Between the Lakes, because nobody knows, in my opinion, knows Land Between the Lakes any better than he does. If you don't know your way around back in there, you'll get lost because there's all kinds of roads back in there, to the left, to the right, dirt roads, gravel roads, paved roads. It's just a lot of roads. You can get lost back there. And when I go with Martin, anytime we research together, I feel super comfortable because I know him and he knows me. I can feel, as crazy as it sounds, I can feel if I have a feeling I get if there's a Bigfoot close by. And I don't know how I get that, but I do. I was riding down the road a couple of months ago, and I told Rosie, I said, I just felt one right here, and I pulled over, and I didn't see anything, but I felt it, and that doesn't happen very often. But when I go into an area of the LBL, I get a feeling if one's there. And Martin has the same thing with Dogman. So I don't know how he has it. I don't know how I have it, but I do. And I'm telling the truth about it. It's a weird feeling I get. And Ron is so patient and quiet with us, and he pretty much keeps everybody calm. And if Bart's with us, he's not afraid of anything. And that helps out too, because everybody's got everybody's back. But that would probably be the best answer I could give you. I'm only really comfortable with the people I've researched with for a long time, and because I know they know what I know, and they got my back, and I got theirs.
You have to have people that you trust in the field, because when you go out looking for these creatures, they literally are dangerous. You know, they may play innocent. They know they can overpower you in speed, in power, in strength, in biting power, whatever they may do. You know, and you always do have to be cautious. What are some of the warning signs that people should look out for if they're in these areas where there are known cryptid creatures?
Well, the number one warning thing, especially for a Bigfoot, in my opinion, I don't call all these creatures Bigfoot. There's Bigfoot, there's forest people, there's Sasquatch. I think they're all a little different. This is my opinion. This is nothing scientific. This is just my opinion for what I've experienced. But the number one thing you want to look for is large twisted limbs. If you find a limb on a tree up 7, 8, 9 foot, and it's 3 or 4 inches in diameter, and it's just twisted like a straw, it takes some humongous strength to do that. When you see those twists, in my opinion, from what I've experienced in the past, that's an area that these creatures don't want you in. You better get back and stay away, because that's a marker. Don't come into this area. Now, the forest people will make the large X's, and they'll make them with green trees, 2 or 3, 6, 7, 8 inches round, snapped at the bottom to form a large X. They'll do them with deadfalls. They'll lay them on the trails. They're a little different than some of the other ones, because that's their family marker. That's the marker that relates to the family they are. And it's also boundaries, I believe, for their juveniles and their family to be around, and other clans or families not to come into their area. You definitely want to, if you're on a trail that you've walked regularly, or you've been on before, or it's a trail that's in the forest, designated trail for hikers, and there's a fresh large tree laid across it, they're telling you right now, don't go any further, because they've laid that across to tell you to go back. Don't come through. And I've seen those before. A fresh tree broken, laid across the trail like that, or it's falling across the trail. And, it's not very smart to just step over it and keep going. And then you'll see another one a lot of times broken like that. And they're telling you this is their area, leave now. And those would be the warnings that I've run into. And there are some other ones with some things that would scare a lot of people. Deer carcasses, other things. But those are things that you'll see in a normal area that's got active activity.
We got just under a minute to go. Darrell Denton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you recommend people going out and looking for this?
I don't think you ever find Bigfoot, or you don't. They find you, and they tolerate you. They 100% can read your intentions. 100%, no doubt. They know what kind of person that you are. They know why. They know why you're out there, or what intentions you have. When I used to go into an area I didn't know very well, but I knew they were there. I always just talked when I went in there, acted normal, and told them, "Hey, I'm here to visit your home. I'm not here to harm you. Please don't harm me. I won't be disobedient to your home, and I'll be respectful." And a lot of times I would take off my shoes and ground myself and put them back on if I was in a new area. And I would just communicate, just talk as you're going through there. These
Right.
creatures can hear you. They know when you're there. And when you get out of your vehicle, they know you're coming.
And on
And
that note, hour one already complete. with the Tennessee cryptid hunter, Darrell Denton. When we return, we're going to get into his favorite Dogman encounters.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, Darrell, we're going to play a quick video here, okay?
That's good, brother. Go ahead.
Got about 5 minutes.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
with 5 explorable Gold Rush era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten. The 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right, we got Darrell. I'm Dave. And let's see who we got in the chat room here as we scroll on down. Matthew Goodka, how are you? Nice to see you. And who else has jumped in here? I am way behind in the chat room. Jerence Carter, nice to see you. Jerence Carter. John Jackson, nice to have you here. And we're coming back in 10 seconds. Thank you to Mel WD40 and Area 55. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love. Here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Darrell Denton, the Tennessee cryptid hunter, is our guest tonight. Before we bring Darrell back on, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Sadog is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. The Tennessee cryptid hunter, Darrell Denton, is our guest tonight. We're going to get into some Dogman, werewolf-like creature, if you've never heard of it before. And this thing can be eerie and terrorizing. Darrell, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
What makes the Dogman so scary?
Well, I mean, the ones I've seen, you know, one of them was a good distance from me, the first one I seen. And I guess the biggest thing that probably makes it scary for people is the tradition you hear about them. You know, everybody thinks that they're bloodthirsty, more of a werewolf type creature, and they could be. I've never seen that type of dog man, but I understand they are in existence. But the first dog man I seen was in Tazewell County, Virginia, and a gentleman had asked me to come there. Actually, I was at an old farmer's grocery store that I used to go to and have coffee in Virginia, and the gentleman come in, and this is early in the morning. I would go and have coffee with these farmers. They're super nice guys, and we sat around and talk. And this gentleman came in the store and had his son with him, and the gentleman who owned that store was Indian and didn't understand his language very well. And he said, "Does any of you know about any of you here know about creatures?" And I was sitting down the table a ways from the gentleman, and I kind of listened again, and I said, "What was that?" And he said, "Does anybody here know about creatures?" And of course, the farmers I was sitting with, some of them had seen Bigfoot before. They said they had, but I said, "Well, what kind of creature?" And he said, "I don't know what it is, but I live with my aunt, and me and my wife and kids live with my aunt, and something is killing her goats, and it comes down in the evening, and we locked them up as long as we could until they were all killed. And do you know who I could call to get somebody to come out and look and tell me what kind of creature this is and what I need to do? And I said, well, I don't mind going out and looking and see what you got. I'm not sure that I'll know what it is, but I'll go. And it happened to be quite a ways from where I was at, so I actually made arrangements to meet up with him the next day. It was about a 2.5 hour drive, and from where he lived with his aunt, and I drove out there and lost service. So I had to go back to the road, and I called him on his cell phone, and he met me at an old store, an old abandoned store, and I followed him to his house, drive across the creek, through some water, below water, and go up to the left, and it goes to his farmhouse and the barn where these animals were killed at. And I followed him up there and got out, and he walked me over and showed me the goat barn, as he called it. And all the animals had been removed, but I could see the tracks of what killed these creatures. It was real muddy around that barn, and he told me there's the footprints there, and he says it looks like a dog to me, but it looks awful large. And I said, well, I think I know what it might be, and I knew immediately that it was probably a Dogman or a large wolf. And I didn't think there was any large wolves in those areas, but anyway, he told me where they come in at. He had heard the creature several times come from the top of the field, howling at nighttime. It would come from that area in the dark. And it apparently killed these goats slowly, a few at a time, until it finally killed them all. And he told me, go back out the way you come in, except don't go across the creek. Go straight up on the hill. Go through that gate and park up there. It overlooks the large field here that connects to the barn. And if you'll sit up there, you can watch and see if you can see what kind of creature this is when it comes in the evening or the morning. And I told him I didn't know if I could spend that much time on it, but I would do what I could do. And I ended up staying there for almost a month on and off, not every day, but I would drive back and stay in the evening till it got dark. I would get up early and get there in the morning to see if it was coming out in the morning. I just about given up. I didn't see anything for 2 or 3 weeks, and I just about given up. Matter of fact, I told him the day before that this creature may have moved on because you don't have any more goats. So not sure it's here anymore. And it was a Friday evening, and I'd made my mind up this is going to be my last evening here because I'm not seeing anything. And it's a lot of time and money to drive that far and sit up there. And I didn't mind doing it to help him and his aunt out and his wife and children, but it was just time consuming. And right before dark that evening, I catch a glimpse, and I'm in my truck parked on this tall hill overlooking this field. And it's probably about 300 yards long, the field. It's fenced in with wire fence, cattle wire box fence. And I noticed in the very corner, I caught a glimpse of something moving from the wood line into the field. And I got my binoculars and looked, and I could see it was a large black creature that stepped over the fence and then got on all fours, and it took off running down through the field. It's running toward my direction. I'm in the corner, the right bottom corner. This creature comes in from the top left corner, and it runs through the field, and it would go between patches of this tall brown grass, and I would lose it. I couldn't see it. But when it was running in the open areas, it wasn't running like a dog. It was galloping like a horse. And just a completely different run that it had. It wasn't like a dog. And finally it stopped right below me when it got to the bottom of the fence. I'm probably maybe 75 yards from this creature. It stops at the corner of the fence, and I've got binoculars, and I'm watching it. It has not seen me. And when it stopped at the bottom of the fence, it's on all fours. It stood up on two legs. It takes the left leg and puts it over the fence, and then takes the right leg, stops and looks in my direction, but does not see me, and then walks off into the hardwoods. And it was almost dark at that time, and I had a really pretty good view of it with my binoculars that close, and it looked like a black German Shepherd, but it was about 3 times the size of a normal German Shepherd. The head looked like a black German Shepherd, had tall, pointed ears. It did not have large canines or anything sticking up like some kind of werewolf, but it was a huge dog, wolf-looking thing, and it walked on 2 legs across the fence. I could not see its feet when it went over, but I could see its hot legs when it stood up. And I knew then what it was. I thought for sure it was some type of Dogman. And it got dark on me. The next day, I went back. I carried my backpack with me, my camera, my 270 automatic, and a pistol fire, a sidearm. And I got out and walked, and I walked down to that fence row, crossed where it went. And I walked all down in those woods, and I followed a trail where this thing had been going around a bluff, a huge bluff, a mountainside, and around the very far side, this thing had dug out up underneath an area there, and you could see actual tracks where it was going in and out. And it didn't look like only one of them; it looked like several of them were in there. And around the entrance, before I got to that area, I found all kinds of bones, different type of bones. It looked like cow bones. It looked like all kinds of deer, different type of bones. And I wandered around there for a little bit. I didn't feel real comfortable being in those woods by myself. And I did not see anything, but I did see the tracks. So this thing was burrowing up under this bluff, or these things were. And I walked on out and got back in my truck. And as I'm leaving, I'm coming across the creek, and this game and fish official, he's coming across the creek as I'm about to drive across the creek, and he stops me. He says, "What are you doing up here?" And I said, "Well, a farmer here that owns these goats asked me to come up here and kind of stake out up here on the hill to see if I can find out what's killing them." And that's what I was doing. He says, "What weapons do you have with you?" And I told him what I had. And, "Do you have hunting license?" I said, "I do. I have Tennessee and Virginia." And he said, "Well, you're not supposed to hunt anything this time of year. There's nothing in season." And I said, I'm carrying the weapons for my protection." I said, "I wasn't hunting anything. I was watching for the creature." And he said, "What creature?" I made that mistake. And he said, "Do you have a permission slip to be here?" And I said, "I don't. The homeowner told me I could be here." He said, "Well, get in and go up here to the homeowner." And I did. And the homeowner told him I had permission to be there. So he was good with that, even though I didn't have written permission like I was supposed to have. And I got in my truck, and he says, point blank, he says, "I know why you're here. You know why you're here. And my suggestion is for you to get in your truck and leave and don't come back. There's some kind of creature killing people's livestock in this area, and you don't need to be here, and I don't want you here."
Oh, wow.
So I left.
That's not very polite.
Not very polite. And he was serious about it too. And I left. And that was my very first Dogman sighting. And my next one was in the LBL in 2022. Martin Groves and Barton Nunley and myself were in a place we call Area 23. And we'd been there a lot of times, and we in that area a lot of times. And we were told that by a gentleman who was there a whole lot that nobody had ever stayed in Area 23. He knew the LBL pretty well. He said nobody had ever stayed there because there was too many creatures in that area, and at nighttime, people would get scared and leave. Even a family in their camper got the camper shook real hard, and they left. And we decided to stay there. So we built a fire and cooked dinner there, and decided to stay there that night. And I guess it was almost dark. The gentleman that had brought us there said, I'm leaving. I won't be here in the dark. And he left, and wasn't far from us up to the left on the hill. We had a Bigfoot that was peeking out from behind a tree, probably 100 yards away, that we could see pretty well. And Martin got zapped again by something. We didn't, Martin and I didn't, but he did. He got very sick, and we had his vehicle backed up into this spot pretty far into the woods. And he was sitting in the driver's seat of it with his seat laying back. He wasn't feeling well. It happened while we were eating. We grilled some steaks and food there. There was a campfire area there with a grill top on it and a picnic table. And he wanted me to drive him down to the restroom, which we were in a camping area. I took him down there, and he got out and went in. He thought he was going to throw up. He didn't feel good at all. And he came back. We came back and pulled back up in there again. And I don't know exactly what time it was that night, but we heard the coyotes first. I know it was after 12. I think it was after 1. And we were all sitting around the fire except Martin. He was still sitting in the driver's seat, leaned back in his reclining seat. We had the window down. And we were sitting around the fire, Martin and I, and we kept checking on him. And we heard the coyotes coming. And there was a large pack of them, and they were getting really close on top of the hill in front of us. And then we heard another howling. And it sounded like a different type of howl, because it was a different type of howl. And all three of us heard it. And then we heard the crop behind us. The water was at a winter pool there, that particular spot. And we could hear something running through the shallow water toward the area behind us. And we got a little nervous because it sounded like Dogman to us. And we heard a couple more coming through the woods. And at the top of the hill in front of us, you could hear them howling really loud. And I have no service there with my cell phone. I can't call out. I can't have anybody call me. I never have been able to. And I'm sitting there next to the fire, and my cell phone starts ringing. And I answered it, and I couldn't believe it. I said, my phone's ringing, because it never works there. Never has. And I answered it, and it was Beth Collinsworth, a real intuitive lady in my group, a close friend of mine. She said, are you in the LBL? And she did not know I was there. I had not talked to her in a week or two, and didn't tell her I was coming there. And I said, we are. And she goes, I go, how did my phone work? It's never worked here. She goes, I woke up in the middle of the night. I had to call and tell you this. There's a feral man close to you, and there's dog men all around you. You guys need to leave now. And I said, how do you know this? She goes, just do as I told you. Leave. Well, these things were really barking and howling then, and I was pretty nervous. And I looked at Barton, and he had a big, long sword with him. And I said, it sounds like they're coming in on us. Are you ready for this? And he said, yeah, I guess we'll have to be. And Martin's in the truck, and he hears what was said on the phone. Martin gets up, walks right past me and Barton, right past the fire we had going, walks right into the middle of the woods. I'm yelling at him, don't go in there by yourself, Martin. I jumped up, and I was headed toward him, and he went on anyway where I couldn't even see him, and I was really worried about him. And I started walking over toward him, and Martin did too, to make sure we could get him back. And then he starts chanting loudly a scripture. I couldn't hear exactly every word, but it was really loud. He was chanting this scripture real loud in the woods. And that went on for a minute or so. And then he stopped and he turned around and he came right back and went and got back in the seat right where he was at. And it got quiet. We did not hear another howl, didn't see another creature, didn't hear anything the rest of the night.
Goodness me. Was Martin under some sort of trance that he just decided to go into the forest alone?
I asked him about that, and he told me, he said, I had to do it. I just felt like I had to go quote the Lord's scripture and worked. But, we had seen a Dogman earlier that night that run across behind the bathroom. And, it's that's a crazy area there. You can go there 100 times. You may not see nothing 50 times, and then you might see something every other time. So, we have some areas there that we go that we usually have some activity of some type, but I don't know if I don't really think he was under a trance. I think it hit him and he felt like he had to do that to save us, because I was pretty nervous. These things were getting close, and a lot of people don't think you can shoot or kill these things. I don't know if you can or not. I've never fired upon one, but Martin did that. It really happened, and the power of God and Christ in his soul, apparently it worked, because they definitely quieted down, and we didn't hear anything else the rest of the night.
Man, either way, I mean, to have that type of encounter, I know at Flight 21 in 2023, our buddy Merle actually had something similar happen where we were getting some vibration coming in the ground and we could feel it through our feet. And all of a sudden, like, we had one rule: nobody walks off alone. And Merle took off. And he thinks he was under some sort of trance, right? So it was just very weird how, when you were telling that story, it's almost exactly what happened with us with Merle.
I see Martin. Martin has a special ability with those creatures. I don't know if he was some kind of mark was put on him after his first encounter, when he thought he was going to die with these creatures. But we've talked about that. He and I and Ron and all of us in the cabin we stay at, and many a times we've talked about that. And I don't know if it's a marking you get, or how do I know or I feel that Bigfoot are around? And normally I'm right. Very rare am I ever wrong. And I don't know how that happens. This was nothing I ever wanted to be involved in. It wasn't something I woke up one day and said, okay, I want to be into Bigfoot and Dogman and run around out in the woods trying to find them. So, it's just something that happened to happen the way it did. And lots of times I wish I hadn't got involved in it at times. And then other times I'm glad that I did, because it really does change your perspective on life.
That indeed it does. And it doesn't matter how seasoned you are in this field, and I'm sure you would agree with that, as we got about 30 seconds, Darrell.
Yeah, 100%, Dave, 100%.
It doesn't matter how seasoned you are. Every time you have a sighting or a close encounter, it still gives you the heebie-jeebies and makes you think.
I agree. Yeah, really does. I think that has a lot to do with it, too. I think there are people that have a different ability with these creatures, and the presence of knowing what they are, when they are there, and when they're not there. And it's not necessarily a natural ability. It's a God-given ability of some type.
Oh, I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you. But it also goes to show the power of spirit and the power of your own personal religions, because a lot of people, whether it's aliens, Bigfoot, Dogman, or anything else, It always seems to come down when you say the Lord Jesus Christ. It seems to
100%.
push
Yes,
these creatures away.
you're exactly right.
I'll get you to hold on right there, Darrell. We're going to come back with audience questions on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right. We want to remind everybody that Cable Guy Matt is here. Hit him up for your free piece of coaxial cable autographed by Cable Guy Matt. Remember, folks, you cannot buy these in stores. Literally, Cable Guy Matt is my cable guy. He is the guy who keeps this place going. Love Cable Guy Matt. He's literally watching, I think, on a 100-inch television right now. Yeah, it's Cable Guy Matt is the man. Mm-hmm. See if he responds. He better respond. It better not have been just a quick drop in. Little Mikey, I do not think Florida will win the Stanley Cup with the addition of Brady Tkachuk. I do not. I think they're more powerful. I think they'll come out of the East next year, but I do not think they will win the Stanley Cup. I would say probably the year after they will. Oh, man. I want to go with you to the LBL, Darrell.
We'd love to have you, brother. Love to have you. Like I said, I haven't been going as much the last 2 years because of all the stuff that's been happening. Ron was sick. Martin was sick all last year. We thought he might not make it. And, it's been a whole lot going on. We had some weird stuff happen there in October of 24, and I haven't recovered from it yet. And really weird stuff. And nothing like I've ever experienced before. And more of a paranormal type thing than a Dogman or a Bigfoot type thing. And, it's a very strange, some strange things happened, and none of us have actually got completely over it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird how that type of stuff pops in and out.
I believe it's all connected in some way anyway.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here.
I can tell you this much: the LBL is really a mysterious place. There's been so many weird things that I've witnessed there that it's remarkable. You can go a week and see nothing, then you can go the next week and see everything. You just never know. But some very strange things go on there.
Give me 2 seconds here, Darrell. Flat Rock, how you doing? The lovely and talented Tamisha Bertrand, how you doing? Nice French name there. Cool Arrow, nice to see you. Lisa Smith, you sure you still want to go to LBL? Sure, there's no sharks there. I know I'll have to battle Dogman. Do you go in armed, Darrell?
Well, we're not supposed to be carrying anything there, but I got to be careful about answering those type questions. But I'm not going to be crazy enough to go some of the places we go with nothing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we go into 21 armed. We do.
Yeah, it's a it's like I said, people can go there and nothing happens. Then other people go and a lot of things happen. It also depends on the areas you go, because we have some areas that normal people don't go to. So
yeah,
that makes a difference.
You know what though? I actually have a theory about that, Darrell, because at 21 we get a lot of people going up there to visit the crash site. Okay. But nobody is there for the cryptids. Nobody is there for anything else. And I look at it, and I think it's because the phenomena recognizes who's in tune and who's not. And if you ain't, that phenomena knows you're in tune, it's going to come out and it's going to play with you differently than, say, anybody else.
I believe that. Yeah, I can
got-
believe that.
We got about 15 seconds. Thank you to Mel WD40. Thank you to Area 55 for our super chats tonight. We're going to take some audience questions in the next half hour. So here we go. Buckle up, everybody.
All right, let's do it.
We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you joining us for a night of Bigfoot and Dogman talk with the Tennessee cryptid hunter, Darrell Denton. We're going to get to Darrell right now. We were talking about the land between the lakes and your Dogman encounters there. There's always also the legend from the 1980s that a Dogman incident killed a family of 4. I mean, do you buy that, or do you are you convinced that was a Dogman that did that, or are you convinced, Darrell, that this was something more nefarious, like the police say?
No, I 100% believe it was a Dogman that killed the family. Yeah, no doubt. I really do. I mean, my good friend Steve Causey wrote a book on that, and Martin Groves and Barton Nunley have interviewed numerous people. Martin's probably interviewed more people than anybody in the LBL than I've ever heard of. I mean, witnesses of attacks, sightings of just numerous people, and even former sheriff and state trooper, law enforcement officials, park rangers. And the evidence all points to it being 100% real. It happened. Matter of fact, the lady that ran the diner a good distance from there, the 2 officers that showed up there that night, that Barton Nunley interviewed her, and it was pretty credible what those officers told her. They'd never seen anything like that. They actually went outside and had to throw up due to the fact of what they'd seen. And yeah, I believe there's a lot of things, and I'm not just pointing to the LBL on this particular issue, but there's a lot of things that go on that the government and officials just don't want us to know about. And it's my 100% belief with the reason why you'll never hear them admit that Bigfoot exists, because the national parks in the United States alone is a 2.8 billion. That's with a B. $billion industry. And it's even more than that in the last couple of years. That's 3 or 4 year old statistics. And if you go telling people there might be a 8 or 10 foot hairy man running around out in the woods, it might hurt you or might not. We know it's real, but it could harm you. It's not going to do a whole lot to the budget on the national parks. So, they're not going to tell people that. That's a huge revenue that comes in, and I understand that's part of business for them.
That's just like proving Bigfoot on the West Coast here. It would end logging. It would end mining. It would end tourism, fishing, hiking, camping, hunting, because when you have a creature that is not known, or if you have a creature that is endangered, they shut down the area in order to make sure the habitat is protected for the next few years, so they can do a count on how many of these creatures are still viable. They've done it many times with different species of bird. In Oregon, a number of years ago, they found what they thought was an endangered, nearly extinct owl in the forest. And they ended up shutting down that forested area until they figured out how many there were. Were they thriving, or were they surviving? I mean, there's a lot that goes into this, Darrell. And if all of a sudden Dogman or Bigfoot or other cryptids are proven to exist to the public, well, then that area is going to get shut down for a long
I
time.
agree with you 100%. You're 100% on target there. I agree with that. There's been whole entire projects shut down in the state of Tennessee just over a small, tiny fish called the snail darter. And, I understand that. There's so many of your environmentalists and ecologists that are into that type thing. And I don't want to see any of the animals hurt myself. But I also know that the federal government here in the U.S., and I'm sure there too, plays a big part in those type of issues, which can shut down or keep one going. So Bigfoot would completely, I think, hurt the national park industry because there'd be a lot of people that'd be afraid of them if they admitted it. My own brother believes me, but he don't believe in Bigfoot. He thinks I've seen a bear all these times, and he just don't believe in it. You can't make him believe. He'd have to. I've asked him before. If one walked up and slapped you in the face, would you believe it? Probably not. There's just people that are not going to believe in it, and there are people that are skeptical, and then you have your people that 100% believe in it. So, but you got your national park and your government officials, they're not going to take a chance to hurt the revenue of these national parks.
Very true. Let's get to some audience questions here, Darrell.
Sure, let's do it.
Jess is asking, she's new to our chat room. She's asking, what monster is the worst to deal with?
Well, I've seen 4 Dogman and parts of other ones in the brush that couldn't tell exactly. I knew it was a Dogman, but I couldn't tell exactly 100% that it was. And I've been around more Bigfoot than I have Dogman, and I've had the worst experience with my first encounter, but I don't think it would have killed me. If it wanted to, it would have. I do think there are Bigfoot out there that will kill you. And the late, great Scott Carpenter believed that 100%. He thinks they were cannibalistic. Some of them were. And I don't doubt they're not. And I seen a creature in March of 2024 that probably gave me the weirdest feeling of anything that I've ever seen, and that was what I've have known is called a rake or a crawler. And this thing was so strange looking. Martin Groves and Martin and I watched it run up a tree, and it was just white, pale looking, humanoid looking thing. It was eerie, and I was right below it, and they were hollering at me to get back from it. I was trying to get a picture of it up in the top of a tree. It's 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning in the land between the lakes, and this thing gets in the top of a tree and starts clicking, makes a clicking noise, like click, click, real loud clicking. And then over behind me, maybe a couple hundred yards, something was clicking back at it, communicating with it. I'm going to say that thing would probably be the scariest thing, scariest monster I've seen.
Clicking noises are weird.
Very weird. This thing here was so weird. And I've heard of other people seeing these things and claiming they're really dangerous. I don't know. I don't know of anyone that's been attacked by one, but that thing gave me a weird feeling, and it had the intentions and the ability that thing had. I never understood, but we had other ones moving in on us that were clicking back at it, communicating with it.
All right, let's move on to our next question from Paramarv. Do you believe that you've ever received messages mentally from a Bigfoot or Dogman?
Once or twice, I had a Bigfoot at a location in Cheatham County, Tennessee. The ones that in the same area that I believe followed me home. They tried to mind speak with me. I can tell you, I won't allow any of these creatures to mind speak. If I feel it happening, I will stop it from happening because I don't know the intentions of the creature.
How do you figure out its intentions?
Well, I don't know its intentions. If it's a bad creature and it's trying to mind speak with me and I allow it to get into my mind like that, how do I know it can't alter my mind and have a way of getting over me?
True. Very true. So you're cautious about it.
Exactly. I think that happens. There's a close friend of mine named Scott Pace that probably is the best mind speak individual I've ever met with these creatures. And he does it regularly with Bigfoot that live on his property. He's in Louisiana.
All right, let's get to the next question here. Let us go next to Shane. Darrell, do you have any idea why some Sasquatch are mean and aggressive and some aren't?
Well, I don't know how many different types there are. There's definitely a large number of different types. Like here as humans, we have different types of humans, and I do believe that some of these creatures are just naturally aggressive. If you follow Dr. Matthew Johnson, which he's a friend of mine, and he believes that there's only one good kind, and that's the Xanu. The rest of them are all terrible, and he could be right. I don't know. But I can tell you this much. I do believe that a lot of these creatures are the way they are because they've been shot at. They've had all kinds of things done to their family, and probably some of their family have been killed by gunfire and people being mean to them. Unfortunately, the human race is that way towards some of these creatures, and it has no reason to be that way toward them unless they're aggressive toward them. And I know for sure that they don't like bright colors. I never wear red or plaid or any type of bright colors into the woods, even in hunting season, because I know they don't like those colors. So I think it has a lot to do with the different species of them, and I think it has a lot to do with the people they've been around.
That makes a lot of sense. I also want to add that too. I do believe it's territory as well. Okay?
Exactly.
When
100%.
you're in the South, you're in the South where it's hot, humid, you're dealing with, poisonous snakes, you're dealing with feral hogs, you're dealing with panthers, you're dealing with gators and alligator gar and a lot of violent creatures. I think it makes them more aggressive.
I think you're right. Yeah, very good point, Dave.
Because up here, realistically, the only real issue that they would have would be a grizzly bear. That's it. Or a moose, one of the two. But the moose is going to get scared off because the moose knows that they want it for food. Right? They're not
Very
stupid.
true.
They're not stupid like pigs or feral hogs. Right?
I agree.
So I think that is something to take into account, is environment as well. Matthew says, I am in Montana around and in Glacier National Park. Is there any place to stay away or look?
By Dave Pilatus, I've heard a lot of tales about Glacier National Park. I've been there one time. It's been years ago, and certainly not on the hiking trails because my number one phobia is bears. So you wouldn't catch me there. So I'd much rather face a Bigfoot or a Dogman than I had a bear, a grizzly especially. So I'm not really familiar enough with Glacier National to be able to answer that question for you. So I'm sorry I can't answer that.
All right. Let's go to Acuff. Darrell, do you think that these creatures are corporeal beings or something else?
I think they're flesh and blood creatures with a super natural ability.
Me too. Me too. And why do you think that is? Because for so many people in our community, they feel it could only be one or the other. Can't be a combination of both.
No, I know this much. Ron Moorhead, being such a close friend of me, has taught me a lot. And I can tell you, if you want to read a book that will make you understand how some of that works, I've read his book, Quantum, 5 times. Every time I read it, I pick up something else and I get a little more informed on how the higher vibration these creatures have over what we have. They have a much higher vibration, and I believe that also puts them in a position where they can go into a different dimension that we can't see.
Mm-hmm. And Ron was a complete flesh and blooder at that time too, wasn't he?
Yep, he still believes the same way I do. So, but he believes they have special abilities like I do.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Grandizer. Darrell, what in Tennessee is similar to the Spottsville monster in Kentucky? That monster or monsters are said to be malevolent and will stalk its prey, even in their homes, test defenses, lock doors.
You know, I'm not really sure of a monster in Tennessee that ranks with that one. I'm very aware of the Spottsville monster. That particular monster was Barton Unley. His family was terrorized by that thing. And ever heard Barton's story as a kid growing up? They would lock themselves in the house at night, him and his 4 or 5 brothers and sisters with his dad and mom. His dad stood at the door with a shotgun and a can of kerosene because the Bigfoot were banging on the door trying to get in all night long. It scared the kids to death. And I don't really think Tennessee has a legend like that. Not the one that I'm aware of, unless it be the Tennessee Wild Man that was years and years ago. And I don't know all the details to it. I know that Montgomery Bell Park had a lot to do with that particular Wild Man, and I'm almost thinking the Wild Man was probably a Dogman.
Speaking of bears, Paramarv is asking, what are your thoughts on that little North Carolina boy who disappeared for 2-3 days in January 2019 and was allegedly taken care of by a teddy bear and came home just fine?
It's one of the most remarkable stories I ever heard. I remember when that happened, and my idea is probably the bear was probably a forest person or a Bigfoot would be my guess, and a kid would probably identify that as a bear more than he would a Bigfoot because he don't know what a Bigfoot is.
Especially
Big
at
hairy,
3 years old.
yeah, big hairy creature. He would normally think that. So, and there's a lot of real friendly, non-aggressive forest people out there. There's some. I mean, they're just like we are. They're a type of people, in my opinion. So,
I have talked to a number of people about bears over the years, including a lot of my very experienced hunting friends. And I've told them this story. They were all like 100% convinced that isn't a bear, because a bear is not going to coddle and feed a child in hibernation season. And with it hibernating, when bears wake up during hibernation,
they're hungry,
angry and hungry.
Yep.
And they will tear anything apart. So
I believe that
boy was a free meal if it was a bear.
Yep.
Little Mikey is asking, in your opinion, what do you think the Dogman in the LBL are? More aggressive or have that reparation in that area?
You know, I haven't had a Dogman try to attack me anywhere. And it could, and several of those occasions it could have, especially the one that Martin Groves and I seen that was interdimensional at the same time it was a creature. I don't even know how to explain that, but you know, I could shine a flashlight through it, but it was a creature. I don't know how that's possible, but I've never had one try to attack me. Now I know there are some in the LBL, and there's people that have been attacked by them in the LBL. I know that for sure. I do believe the 82 family that were massacred. I would not ever venture to say that it's not possible that the government has not maybe messed with the DNA on those things and tried to create, you know, what we've all heard, some type of special soldier or creature. I believe that's probably happened. Maybe not even in the LBL, maybe somewhere else, but I believe it's still going on with certain things. And it was going on in World War II, so why wouldn't it be going on now with the technology we have? So I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't going on. I know there's I've seen so many strange things in the LBL. I could spend a lot of time talking about it, but there's stranger times there when you can't understand how it could even be. When you see the moon turn from a regular color white to almost orange red for about an hour, then go back to white, and you got 12 people that's seen it and can't understand it. So there's some strange things there. I don't understand why they are there, but they are.
All right. Let's move on to another question. We've got about just under 4 minutes. Let's flip the script, Darrell. What about feral people in the forest in Tennessee? How many reports do you have of those?
Well, I've had quite a few of them in the Smoky Mountain area over the years. Different people that say they've seen them. Different people that said they come into their camp at night. I have never seen one myself. I know that Beth had told me that we had feral people in the LBL that particular night when the Dogman were surrounding us, and I believe her. And I'm sure there are some in there. I've not seen one personally, but I think that a lot of the national park areas, these what I call kind of like wild man type people are living in some of those areas. So, yes, I believe they're there.
All right. Let's go to another question again. This one from Acuff. Some animals you're supposed to run from, and some you're supposed to play dead. Are these similar rules for different cryptids?
Well, I can't think of any cryptid that I'm speaking of that I would play dead. I can't think of any. I know that if it's an aggressive Bigfoot, I don't want to play dead. If it's a friendly one, you don't have to worry about it. If they're not aggressive. A Dogman, I think you're better off being your natural abilities on both those creatures. And there's other creatures out there besides that. The rake, I wouldn't want to be around at all. I don't believe playing dead would do you any good around any of those creatures.
Jesse is asking, have you ever seen a glimmer man?
No, I haven't. I've heard of it, but I've never seen one.
Final question from our audience tonight, Darrell. Oh, we've already asked that one. Let's see if we can sneak in one more here. Let's just take a quick look. No, I think we're wrapped up for the questions tonight, Darrell. Let me ask you this. The fun that you have doing this, the enjoyment that you get, is it more about the enjoyment or solving the mystery of these encounters and these cryptids?
Well, the biggest reason that we research the LBL the most is over the years, Martin and I started before anybody else did. He and I together. Now, Martin was researching there when we were too, but that was before we all got together. And Ron came in the last 4 or 5 years and started being on our team and going with us. But our biggest reason for researching there at that particular time, and still today, is try to warn people of what's in those areas, and it's not always safe to go there. People should. I'm a true believer that the National Forestry Service is what runs the land between the lakes. Should have signs up these creatures may exist and be cautioning, because you've got normal people going in there that have no idea what possibly could live in there. And that's the case in all the national parks and the National Forestry Services, but especially the land between the lakes with the reputation it's had over the years. So I think it's an injustice, and that's our biggest reason for researching there so much is we try to let people know the dangers of the area.
Darrell Denton, everybody. Great cryptid researcher, friend of Spaced Out Radio. Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
You can finally go to bed, brother.
All right, Dave. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Much love, eh? We'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon, brother.
All right, you take care.
Have a good night. Thank you for having me.
Good night, buddy.
Bye.
Darrell Denton, everybody.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your Spaced Out Radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
This next half hour, we have Robin Haynes. There she is. Hello, beautiful.
Hey, sweetheart. How are ya?
I am excellent. We got about 45 seconds. Thank you to our two super chatters, Area 55 and Mel WD40. We appreciate that love. And you know what? 30 seconds. Been parched all night. Parched, I tell you. Swamp Dweller will be 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
4.5 minutes. Then we're off and running. We got 10 seconds, Robin.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. We are into hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes with the Q&A are getting ready in the warm-up for you to listen to very shortly. But first, I want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is the dog. So dog is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. The events I describe are accurate. I will carry them with me for the rest of my life. These incidents occurred around midsummer in 2013 or 2014 in a small town in rural New Hampshire. My friend was present for both occurrences and witnessed the same things I did. The first event took place on a warm summer night. My friend and I lived in the same town, about 2 miles away. At the time, I had my license, and he did not. So I would drive to his house to hang out and play video games, or pick him up and drive back to my place to hang out. Right down the hill from my place is this old textile mill that has been closed down for a while. Pretty much as long as I've ever seen it, it's been run down. And there have always been rumors going around about how people died working in the mills years back. And sometimes at night, if you look into the windows, you can see ghostly figures still dressed in the old-time clothing. Across the street from the mill is a dirt parking lot where telephone companies park their work trucks and grab them in the morning. I had just picked up my friend and drove back to my house. As we were driving by that dirt parking lot, we happened to notice something. The telephone company trucks were big, and you could see underneath them, on the other side of one of the trucks, I saw a pair of legs and feet, as if someone were standing there motionless. The legs were very pale, It stood out in the darkness. There were no shoes, just bare feet. It looked like the legs of a child around 8 years old. As we kept driving and passed the truck, the feet and legs disappeared like they were never there. We were going fast enough that they could not have run off before we passed them if that was an actual person. I asked my friend if he had just seen that, thinking I might have been crazy. You mean the white legs and the feet? He asked. To this day, I still hope it was our imagination playing tricks on us. But sometimes I wonder if a child may have died working in the mill many years ago when child labor was legal. This last event happened to me and my friend. It was late at night and I was driving home after the movies. Let me remind you that I live in a very rural, woodsy town. We were on this stretch of road close to this place where we did see the ghost legs originally, with woods on either side, and we're not driving very fast as the speed limit for that road is only 20 miles per hour because it is very windy. Just remembering this next part sends chills down my spine as I write this. This thing flies over the road, just above the tree line as we drive. It flew next to a streetlight, lighting the creature well. At first, I thought it was some type of bird, but as more of it appeared by the light of the street, I realized this thing was much too large to be any bird of any type. The creature we saw had the body roughly the shape of the size of a large wolf, but with short fur. It had bat-like wings big enough to support its weight and size. Unlike a bird, the creature had front and back legs and a tail. Luckily, I didn't see it long enough to get a good description of its head or face, and I'm glad I didn't, because I was already completely paralyzed with fear. Later, my friend claimed it had red eyes. My friend and I did not say a single word the whole time this happened. The rest of the way to the house, we said nothing. When we finally pulled into his driveway, I shut off the car, and we both just silently started freaking out. I was hoping I was going crazy, and to this day, I would think I was, but someone saw the exact creature I did. We went inside and told his brother, who thought we were absolutely crazy. After that, we said nothing to anyone for a long time because who would believe us? To this day, I don't know what kind of creature we saw that night. Just thinking about it, going to the woods in that town now scares me. If anyone has any idea what it might have been or has any strange creature stories around New England, I would love to hear about it in the comments.
Thank you, Swampy, for another spooky story. You want more just like that? Head on over to Swamp Dweller and subscribe. Ring that bell. We go with him to kick off hour number 3 each and every night on this show. Now, it's time for Robin.
Robin hangs soft where the tall trees sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild man plays, the Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. Only on Spaced Out Radio's Cryptid Q&A.
Robin Haynes, it is always good to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
I am good. Always happy to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm thinking going into my investigation at our legendary Flight 21 area this coming weekend. I'm literally thinking that maybe we should try a little experiment by getting a little mini plastic jar of peanut butter.
Yeah, they love the peanut butter. I used to put the jars of peanut butter out and they would, unscrew the top and then they'd put their fingers in it. And by the time I'd get the jar, it was pretty much empty, but you would see their fingerprints on the inside of the jar. Like you can get some really great prints that way.
I'm just trying to build some more trust with my guys. One of the things we were talking about with Darrell Denton, good friend of yours and mine, the last couple of hours was how these creatures seem to have different attitudes depending on their locations. How do you bring them out of their shell?
Well, the first thing you have to realize is that everyone is a different individual. just like we are. You're not going to find any two that are going to have the same personality, they are all individuals. You're talking about thousands of years of breeding behind them that make them afraid of us. Certain clans are told they are not allowed contact with us, and sometimes they break that rule, and other times they just, kind of watch us for a while. And then just like, everybody has that one guy or girl in the family that is just a pain in the butt. Everybody in the family can be lovely, and there's always that one guy or one girl that stands out that is mean and rude. It's the same thing with them. There isn't any set thing. Patience, consistency, doing the same thing over and over, predictability, so they know what to expect out of you. That keeping that higher frequency, the first thing they're going to do is scan you. They're going to check your frequency. They're going to check your intent. Then they're going to watch your body movements. Are you going to go in and just go in certain areas, or are you going to push the limits and go farther back into their area where they're not as comfortable? So you've always been so respectful out there. That's why you've done so well where you're at. And you're predictable. They know what to expect. The thing with these guys is that predictability pulls so much weight. Like, you have no idea, because there's so many of our type of humans that go out in the woods half cocked, and they're either going to bag a Bigfoot or a Dogman, or they're going to be bigger and badder, and it's going to be their way or the highway. The reality is, these things could have taken us out a long time ago. Just on paranormal abilities alone. They don't. I would say a good 80% of them are nothing but good love and kindness. But they are not as civilized as us. They are civilized for their culture, not ours. And 20% hate us because of what we've done to them. And I got to be honest with you, from the people there's so many good people in this industry, but the bad ones of our people, I don't blame them for hating us. We just are not nice. We kill what we don't understand. So if you really want to get in tune with them, predictability, go in with a high frequency. Don't push into them too hard. It's always better to go a little ways in, and then through talking and laughing and gifting or whatever you want to do that's joyful, let them come to you. That gives them comfort. That makes them feel more secure, because they're calling the shots. When you go in and try to take control of the situation, you lose ground every time, because they're never going to let you take control of the situation. It puts them in an unsafe position. So that's just not ever going to happen. So you see all the time where these researchers go out and they're like, well, I'm going to have them do this and this. And I laugh. I get people that contact me every day. Well, tell them to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I can request it, and they're not going to do it. Sometimes they will, but nothing major. But they do things their way. They don't give up control. They are control freaks. They are frequency freaks, and they want predictability. They want to feel love that comes off of you, your intent, your frequency. And that's how you get to them. If you go into their area and let's say we're like where you're at, you go into the forest and you have your gifting site and stuff. And then we know that they live actually farther back behind that. If you were to go back too far and push into that real private area of theirs, you'd lose everything you gained. Just like when you guys were out there the one time and you felt the energy push you back up. It wasn't you. Who was it that went out with you? Was it Mike?
Mike, yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. And they weren't trying to be mean. That was just as far as their comfort level was going to allow. So just like when you picked that up, you backed it off. You do well there because of your respect that you show for them, and they show you respect back. Okay, if you were going to write a book on how to do things, I would literally put you at the front of the book and say, listen, do it the way Dave's been doing it. Because from the get-go, as long as I've known you and helped with that out there, you have done nothing but do things the right, correct way. And because you have a continuing relationship. When you go out in the woods, you have a choice to make. Do you want a one-time episode that's going to be the end of it because they'll never trust you again, they're never going to like you again because you force yourself on them? Or do you want a relationship? You chose to have the relationship, which was the right thing to do. They look forward to you coming out. There's 4 of them there. They're there all the time when you come out there. As soon as I let them know you're coming, man, they're Johnny on the spot. But the way to get to them is the respect, the knowing how far to push without pushing too far, the higher frequency, leaving treats now and then, but not all the time.
Well, we're going to try some peanut butter.
Yeah.
Just to see how that's going to work.
Yep. And let it sit there for a few weeks if they don't grab it right away. Because I've had groups that it would take 2 or 3 weeks or more for them to make sure that it wasn't going to open up and try to attack them. And then the ones that I had in Michigan that lived like a mile away from me, but they were in my backwoods all the time. I'd put it down and I wouldn't even make it back to the house and they had grabbed it. I could have put anything out there, they would have taken it. But for the most part, I've never seen another clan that was really that handsy.
So an update on, remember I told you last week, or you weren't here last week?
No.
Okay. So a week and a half ago, we were at the gifting site picking up our trail cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And I did tell you this story. And we found a copper bracelet and a Canadian dime on the tree. So I got a little bit of an update on that. And that update is this. On our trail cam that we have out there, I've gone over the trail camera footage, Robin. And here's what's interesting. We can see the bracelet. So I started working it back. We saw the bracelet going back from the time we were there, which was, I believe, the 17th. The trail cams are out there for 2 weeks. And we backdated it. June 8th, the bracelet is there. June 7th, it is not. And we have no video footage of whatever put it there. And I got to tell you, Robin, it's baffled me because my trail camera is only 15 feet away from the gifting site.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I should. And by the way, just to add it up, the bracelet and the dime were on the side of the trail cam.
Well, first off,
is going on?
Well, we already know that they can create missing time.
Right.
Okay. Anything paranormal can, whether it's a ghost, a spirit, an alien, whatever, you can get missing time. They can also do that with the cameras. They manipulate the cameras. The best thing that ever happened for them, not us, but them, was digital cameras. Everybody is so amazed that the Patterson-Gimlin film is so clear. It was like an 8mm film. There's no digital anything. When we went digital, that was exactly what they needed because they can manipulate all of it. And they can take out blocks of time in there. I had a film, I had put a video recorder that a very, very kind person that I knew had given me outside on my front porch, and I let it run because I knew they were running around my yard all the time. And so I got a bunch of them. It was at night, and I got them running across the yard. So I took the video camera in there. I put it up. I had a big screen TV, put it up on that, and I'm watching them run around. It was fabulous. I loved it. I was so excited about it. I watched that thing probably 8 times that night. I got up the next day, put it back in again, went through that film, and there was, where that spot was at, was blank. Nothing was there. They had manipulated it. They can do it in the trail cam. I had trail cameras out and put those out, and they would manipulate those things like crazy. I think out of all the times with my trail cam, I got 2 photos. And they weren't even really good. Like, one was a hand with a thumb, and the other one was the side of a breast of a female. Other than that, they would go out there, and my trail camera was literally 10 feet from what I called the feeding station, where I would put things out for them, whether it was toys or food or whatever. And I went out there the next day. Everything had been moved. All the food was gone, giant footprints all over the ground, and nothing on the camera. So they absolutely have that ability.
It just makes no sense, though. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. And somebody put on the screen, just to be correct about that, where I said he's in a relationship with a Bigfoot, I'm talking about as a friendship and a researcher. Make that clear.
So,
I just saw that and I wanted to put that out there.
No, I am not in a romantic relationship.
No, that is
with
not
any
what I meant.
Sasquatch whatsoever.
Yeah, taken out of context. I'm talking about he is in a relationship where a mutual friendship where they get along so well. And as far as predictability, Dave may not be predictable in his regular life, but he is very much aware of what the Sasquatch need from him, and that is predictability. And he's commended for that.
It is kind of weird how that kind
So
of
I
plays
just
out.
wanted to straighten that little mess up because I don't want anybody going weird. Oh, you wouldn't think it would have to be explained.
We got about 3 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Robin Haynes is here with the Cryptid Q&A. We do it each and every week here on Spaced Out Radio. Robin, I got to tell you, I was asking Darrell about trust. Okay. How long does it take for these creatures to build that trust? Okay. Because like you said, they know me. They don't know my team.
Right.
And as much as I'm getting interested in being out there and everything, you still want something to happen. How do we know if it is happening or they're just watching us keeping quiet?
They will be learning to trust you your entire existence with them. Okay. I've been around them since I was a toddler, since I was really little. And you may have one that trusts you, but understand that because of what is inbred in them and what's been done to them, the fact that they've had to live in the shadows, they are not going to ever trust 100%. I don't care who anybody is or how great you may think you are, not referring to you, but anybody, or how much they care about you. They are always going to put their people before they will ever put you. Now, I have had them save my life 6 different times. But if it was going to put them in danger over save my life, I'd be dead. They are going to put them first, as they should. So when it comes to trust, it's an ongoing thing. And for them, the most you're going to get is being trusted in certain situations. They're never going to have that 100% trust where, you know, they think that you'll never do anything because it's inbred in them to be suspicious. You have built trust over the years. You will always continue to build trust. Now it's like the white one and that black one that showed himself to you and the leader of the clan. And now they've got this brown colored adolescent they're bringing along with them. They trust you. That's why they're the first 4 there every single solitary time. But they will never trust 100%. I don't even think they trust each other 100%. Their entire mental capabilities is to be cautious at all times.
Why is that?
Their survival depends on it. Our people kill what they don't understand, or we take their area, we take their territory, we take their food supply. Not that we don't need it too, but they, you know, we're out there hunting and taking their food supply. We're chasing them with guns. We're shooting at them. We're calling them monsters, calling them Nephilim, calling them everything under the sun, putting them on display like they're a zoo animal. Our government has captured them and made hybrid different things, done testing on them, put them, you know, shot them, put them on slabs, you name it. There is a lot of reasons why they have to not trust. So as far as your question on building that trust, it's a lifetime situation. I mean, I go out with these guys all the time. I talk to them every day. You know, there's sometimes they're gone for a few weeks or whatever, and then they're back. But as much as I've been around them, I do healing work on them. They've taught me all kinds of stuff. They aren't going to trust me 100%.
Hold that thought.
And I don't
Bob.
expect them to.
Robin Haynes, the Q&A. Right till the top of the hour. Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
The glow stick and the quarter didn't move when we replaced it.
Oh, it didn't? Well, the other thing, with the whole trust thing is, like, you can have the four that are so good with you, and they are learning to trust you, and their trust is more than the other ones, and let somebody else come in. Or you bring out somebody, on your team, and maybe they're having a bad day. Their frequency isn't where it normally is.
Right.
That sets the raters off. They're so highly sensitive to frequency. It's like I recently had someone that meant a lot to me pass away in the last few weeks. So it's been kind of rough. My frequency's been crap. It's just not where it needs to be. And they know it. So they're quieter right now. First they always on a death, they allow 3 to 4 days of silence, but they're quieter than they normally have. I went out in the yard the other day and they were in the bushes. I could hear them moving around and they were just, really not as upfront like they normally are. And as soon as my frequency goes back up, they'll go back to normal, but that's all it takes to trigger them. These are high frequency beings. I mean, they pick it up in a heartbeat. And if it doesn't feel like it normally does, that's why I don't use a camera. I use my cell phone. And I don't take pictures of them in the flesh. I wait until I know where they're at, find their energy signature, then take photos, because then it doesn't phase them and it pops up on the digital camera like they're in flesh and blood. But they know I take my phone everywhere I go. I have clients that call me 24 hours a day. So I never go anywhere without my phone. If I'm taking a bath, my phone's sitting on the edge of the tub. And no, it doesn't fall in the tub all the time. But the point is it's everywhere I go. They know it's separate from my frequency, but they know it's part of me. And so they trust it. Let me take a camera out there and everybody splits. They are out and gone. But yet I've got just a ton of photos of them because I don't get them with a camera. I use my cell phone, and the cell phones anymore have such a great camera on. Works just as good.
Right.
But again, consistency, predictability, them knowing what to expect.
McGregor's Burner, welcome to SOR Chat. From Newfoundland, right on.
Nice.
No, we're not a podcast. We just don't drop the link here. This is a live radio show on terrestrial radio. All right. 2 minutes.
Sounds good. Yeah, when I let them know you were coming out the other night, they were quite close to the front. Those four were.
There was some interesting bird chirping. One of the toys we now have that we're using is we actually have a parabolic microphone.
Yeah, those are fun.
They led us to the meadow. Didn't see them. They led us back to the meadow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, those parabolic mics are fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then we have what we call noise enhancing headphones.
Oh, cool. I haven't tried those.
Yeah, those are pretty wicked. So
I'd like those. That would be fun. I'll have to try those.
right. All right, we got about 50 seconds here. Thank you tonight to Area 55 and Mel WD40 for the super chats. Thank you to everyone who has given us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do so. It helps with our algorithms each and every show. So make sure you check it on out. We'd greatly appreciate that. And Robin's coming up here momentarily. Hi, Thurston Howell III. How are you? And 5 seconds. Final half hour, Spaced Out Radio, the Cryptid Q&A with Robin Haynes. Hanging on out with us. Robin, thank you so much for being here. My name is Dave Scott, the host who wears a lot of tinfoil and chases Bigfoot on the weekends. Here we go. Robin, I do. I do chase them, and I'm proud to say that.
Yep. But
So
they love it when you're out there.
Why do we want to do this?
You know, there's something about them that's so endearing. Number one, half the world doesn't believe they exist. So then when you see it, we're pre-programmed from the time we're little that this stuff doesn't exist. You know, I mean, that didn't work with me because I was being abducted by the ETs and everything else. But most people are pre-programmed that it doesn't exist. And so when we see them, we're fascinated. And we can't, our brains are third dimensional. So they don't accept that they exist. And we're looking at something that in our third dimensional brain is saying, hey, this isn't real. But yet you're looking right at it. You know, and it just, your consciousness knows it's real, but your third dimensional brain doesn't. And it's just such a novelty because there's so many that don't believe in it. And there's so many that would love to have an experience or some kind of a safe encounter with them. When we do see them, we just want more. And I'll be honest with you, like I had a male that came right up in my yard and he put his hand on my wrist. And they do what they call trancing. Okay, trancing, your brain is fully functioning. Your body is more robotic where you're just kind of standing there. It's just to help calm you down so it doesn't freak you out. And I remember looking at him, and many people have said the same thing to me before as well. You look in those eyes, and it is incredible. There's something about their eyes. You know, they look very human-like, but when you look in it, it's like you are looking into the universe when you look in their eyes. It's just incredible. And I've had so many people come up to me and say, I had one that got really close to me and I looked in those eyes and I was just entranced by looking in their eyes. It's like you see their soul. It's just crazy. But the good ones, there's nothing better. The bad ones are lethal. It's, you know, of course, I can say the same thing for our people. I've had more horrible experiences with our people than ever with the Sasquatch. I feel safer with them. But there is something very intriguing about them. And I will say this, as many years as I've seen them and as many times as I've seen them, I am just as excited now when I see them than the first time. You know, I don't,
I'm
a
like
lot
that
of people,
too, Robin. I'm like
yeah,
that too.
yeah. A lot of people see them and they get frightened because they say they look so scary or whatever. I don't see anything scary about them, but it overruns the fear because I'm so entranced by it. You know, the only time that they ever felt not scary, but made me nervous is like when I would go out at night with them and they would come up behind me and put their hand on my shoulder. I don't mind being in the dark. I don't like things coming up on me in the dark that I can't see. The dark doesn't scare me. Things coming up and putting their hands on me that I cannot see in the dark, that unnerves me. I didn't like that. If they did that during the day, not a problem. They'd come up cloaked and they would do it, or they'd pat my hair or whatever. I didn't care. That didn't freak me out. It was nighttime when they would do it. But yeah, I mean, to me, I'm just so amazed by them each and every time. You know, I've had a couple of them that were not real pleasant, and those ones, you know, made me nervous. I mean, I didn't run for cover, but I was more nervous of them. But most of them just out in the woods, like to see one out in the woods moving around. Or I had a female that brought a baby to me, and I literally wasn't that far from her, and she just showed me the baby, and I got to watch the baby play. I never felt fear. You know, I get so entranced by them that I think that's what the thing of it is.
I think we all do, though.
Yeah.
When you're having an extraordinary encounter with something that isn't supposed to exist,
Yep.
you want to just take it in. Most people, including myself, not interested in filming it, not interested in recording it, because we actually don't believe what is going on. And that goes for people like you or me who are out in the field trying to find them. Never mind the people who literally had no idea they were there.
Yeah. You know, I gotten them on film? I have. Like I said, I had that one video camera, and that happened a couple times. I really don't care if I get them on film. And I don't take them pictures of them out of respect when they're in physical form. If I find energy signatures and I know they're over there, they're making noises or whatever, or they're mind speaking and they're cloaked, I'll take a picture of them while cloaked. You put it off center. And if you put them off center of the center of a digital camera, they pop up like they're in flesh and blood, because they're so busy vibrating their body to cloak, they don't mess with the camera. So you're able to get their physical form that way. And they don't get as panicked by it because they think you can't see them. Where when they're in flesh and blood, it scares them. They go by tradition that the camera steals your soul.
I like this comment by Bad Daddy in our chat room. Real encounters will scare the blank out of you. Not maybe, definitely.
No, not all of them. There are some, yes, but not all of them.
Let's get to a couple questions in our audience here tonight. Acuff is asking, I've heard mixed opinions about leaving food at Bigfoot gifting sites. Is there a rhyme or reason when to and when not to do so?
Absolutely. When I did it, just putting it out there, I had nobody to talk to about this stuff. I was doing it by myself. I didn't have anybody to say, hey, you're an idiot, don't do it. And I was putting it out. I went out at the same time every night. I put a ton of food out for them. Absolutely do not do that. Do not do what I did. I had nobody to tell me I was an idiot. And the reason for that is I was very blessed. The clan that I was giving food to was very calm. I didn't have issues with them. The problem is if you skip a night, if it isn't what they want that night, they can really react badly, some of them. Try to remember that, yes, these are a human hybrid, but they're not civilized in our culture. So they react differently. So when they expect something and they don't get it, they get pissy. Okay. I had one night where I always put it out at the same time. I took my kids to church that night. Church asked me if I would stay for children's church and help out. They were short staffed. I did it. They didn't get their food at 5:30. They got fed at 10 o'clock. I came home. I had buckets that were hanging on a tree that I'd put on a tree with snaps. The buckets had been unsnapped. They were on the front porch upside down, like, hey, idiot, did you forget something? My kids had left their window open and they had grabbed the curtains from that were hanging down and pulled it out. The only thing that kept the curtain still in the room was they bent and broke the rod off the rack, and that rod got lodged in the window. That was as bad as they got. And they hollered at me when I came in. So I had the kids go in the house, and I mean, I literally drove the truck the whole 75 feet from my front door to where the food was at. They never did anything. I mean, I was more concerned if any of them did, because it was a very large clan, and they were fine. Like, they came up and I could see them all standing there watching me. Nobody bothered me at all. But the thing of it is that's not a typical case. A typical case is when they expect it and it's not there, they get angry. Okay. And depending on the clan you're working with is what would happen. So, like in Dave's case, putting peanut butter out now, that's fine. They don't expect that to be an every time thing. So put an occasional food treat out, do it at different times randomly when they don't expect it, and not on a regular basis. The rest of the time, toys, feathers, white rocks, beads, those kind of things. Nothing that one of the kids is going to get in their mouth and choke, just like you wouldn't, give your toddler a penny. But like Dave leaves coins out because the bigger ones love those coins, especially that loony. So get creative with what you leave out. And occasionally food for them is absolutely fine, just not where they expect it every single day. You're never going to feed them enough to sustain them. It's only going to be a treat no matter. I don't care if you put a 12-course meal out there. There's going to be a bunch of them that come in and it's nothing but a nibble. You're never going to be able to sustain them for food. So just make it where it's not predictable. That's one case you don't want it predictable.
I also think too, with the food aspect of everything, you have to know your territory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like where we are up here in British Columbia, food would not work because our area is a high concentration of bears, from black bears to grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Moose will get up on their hind legs to eat bark off of trees, and if you have a 7-8 foot moose walking around, it gets on its hind legs. That's 13, 14 feet.
Yeah.
Right. Never mind the Sasquatch. There's a lot more animals out there. So you would have to know your territory in order to do that. I'm trying peanut butter because I want to see if they can open the jar.
Yeah. And another thing is know what food sources are in your area. Okay. I gave mine a banana one time and they did not really know what to do with this banana. And they took it, first banana I gave them, and they bit the end off of them, peel and all. And then as soon as they started to chew it, they spit it out on the ground because of the peel. So I put another banana out there the next day and I peeled back the top of it. They figured that out in a heartbeat. They peeled the rest of it. They left the peel there and they took the banana. But now then I'm here, in the South, and I had a big bag of peanuts. Somebody had given them to me. So I thought, okay, they're going to like that. There's peanuts all over here. I put the peanuts out and they were like, I can walk out in a field and get this. Why am I taking it and risking getting busted by a human? I can get them there. And they never did touch it, but they liked it. But, if it's something that they're not familiar with in that area, they may not take it. But if it's that readily available, that's different. Like the group I had in Michigan, they did not like cooked chicken. They liked it raw. But yet if I had beef or turkey or ham and it was cooked, they gobbled it up. But they would never eat cooked chicken. It's just, they're funny and they're all different as far as what they're going to take and what they're not going to take. But it's the unpredictability. That is the one case that it is better for you not to be predictable with it. You can certainly, and please watch the sweets, just like with us, a lot of sweets cause tooth decay. There's no dentist out there. So, if you're going to put a package of Oreo cookies out there, not a problem. Just don't do it 7 days a week because they like the sweets like everybody else does, and like I said, put toys out there, put beads out there. Heck, I put a blanket out there. Michigan winters are freezing. They love the blankets. They would take off the blankets every time. My kids would put their McDonald's toys out there and they were always taking those. And then 2 or 3 years later, the McDonald's toys would show back up on the porch. But I should have done more of those kind of gifting than straight food. But I didn't have anybody to go to. I had no frame of reference. You have to remember, they've been around me my whole life. There was nobody around me that could tell me anything about them. They were around me before Patterson Gilman came out. So I just didn't have anybody to go to that said, hey, not a wise idea, because if that clan isn't as nice as the one you have, it could be problematic. Now, the ones here, they will take non-food things. But if they'll tell you they want different foods and you leave them out and they won't take them, but yet they'll steal the feral cat food in a heartbeat. I've caught them on the security camera doing that.
Robin
You know,
Haynes
it
is
just
our
depends on
guest
the group.
tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Another question coming for you, Robin. This one from Mike.
Okay.
Why do they throw rocks?
Various reasons. If you have the very tiny, small little pebbles, and they're doing that out of play, they just want you to know they're around. They're trying to find out how safe you are. If they hit you with a little pea-sized pebble, are you going to turn around and take a gun to them? And if you don't, okay, now they see that you're a little bit more friendly and they feel a little bit safer. I've had them do that to me just to say, hey, we're here, we're here, we're here. So that's fine. If they're little tiny acorn size, little tiny itty bitty stones, that's all play. That's all friendly. They get about the size of a baseball. Okay. Now they're saying you need to back up a little bit. You're getting a little bit too close. We don't want an altercation. We don't want a problem. Back it off a little bit. At that point, the bigger the rock, the more agitated they're getting, because you're not listening to the signs. So that's why they have all these different sizes that they do. It's a way for them to transfer to you what their intent is, what they want you to do, whether it's to turn around. And keep in mind that it's not always they want you to turn around out of anger and hate. You could be walking up on a bear. You could be walking up on a rattlesnake. You could be walking up on a lot of things that they will prevent you from doing. And that's happened to me before. Or I had where they did that to me, and it wasn't really huge rocks, but it was some that in the mind speak. And there was a cryptid from another clan that was coming in, and he was not friendly. And they were trying to get me to go back in the house, which is what I did. And then they had a rock fight out in the yard. But they do it for many reasons. But go by the size. That will give you an indication of their intent.
Just under 5 minutes to go with Robin Haynes tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Blue is asking, when cryptids such as Sasquatch, dog people, etc., are summoned or assigned to an area, are they able to resist or reject such a spiritual contract, being with a higher frequency or multidimensional being?
Yeah, I mean, they come and go as they please. They're not restricted anywhere. Now, you can have, I mean, if something's trying to play mind games with them or whatever to draw them into a certain area, they might go there, but they'll leave. They'll leave whenever they want to. They, they have their territories, they have their places where they like to be. But again, you tend to see all these cryptids and things, they are drawn to certain areas because combined, that frequency, that combination, everything works, guys, through the collective consciousness. You get to the collective consciousness through the higher frequency. So they all kind of band together, even if they don't particularly like each other. There are areas that Dogman and Sasquatch will not share territory, and there are every bit as many, and I've seen this for years, that they will. But that doesn't mean they're interacting all the time. I've only had one area that they really interacted. But they'll share a territory, but then you go some places and they want nothing to do with each other. But that frequency draws in all kinds of spiritual beings, multidimensional beings. And I mean, you can call it a summoning if you want, but they are absolutely free to leave at any given time. They are not locked in there. They are drawn there because it's a higher frequency area. The higher the frequency, the more comfortable they are. They don't like being in a low frequency. It makes them nauseated, gives them a headache, sick to their stomach. They want that high frequency. I couldn't hear you.
What does that high frequency do for them?
Their entire system is based on that high frequency. Okay, we live in a third dimensional body, and it's a low frequency. But what we actually are is our consciousness, our soul, and frequency, energy, light, all of those things. That's what we truly are, even though we're housed in a low frequency. So we've all had people that have come up to us and been mean to us, and we don't know why. Like, we don't know you. Why are you being so nasty? That's because they would be a lower frequency person where you're higher frequency. High frequency people are comfortable around higher frequency. Low frequency wants to be by low frequency. And that's why you have these situations where you don't know why somebody's being nasty to you that you don't even know. And you've never done anything to them, because high frequency and low frequency do not work well together. High frequency always overpowers the low, and the low hate it. So all these cryptids, anything paranormal, your animals even, are all of a higher frequency. We are actually high frequency beings. We've been dumbed down because of the powers that be and the way that we live. And that's why a lot of frequency talk is out there now about raising your frequency. As the earth shifts, as we go through this shift, you're going to go into a higher frequency. So the higher frequency is a lot more comfortable. There's more love in it. There's more light in it, that whole kind of thing. So they are all high frequency, and they are just not comfortable. There's physical changes that go on within anybody's body if you are a high frequency person and you go by a low frequency person. And it absolutely will cause those symptoms. They are a much higher frequency than we'll ever hope to be. I'll tell you that right out. And all those wonderful abilities that they have all come from the higher frequency. We also have abilities. We just have to use our frequency to get up high enough to achieve them.
Robin, we got you for about another minute. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on my website at www.paranormal-empowerment if you want, services or classes or anything. Or if you just have a simple question, you can find me on Facebook under Robin Haynes, no middle initial, Haynes, and just hit me up on Messenger.
And you always answer. You're nice, though.
I do. Yeah, I will admit, guys, this is the first time I've ever been a little behind on answering messages right now. Like I said, it's been a rough couple weeks. So, like I said, I had a person die and another one that just passed, and it's been kind of rough. So forgive me, it's been a little slow getting back, but normally I get back to everybody normally within 24 hours.
Robin, we love you around Spaced Out Radio. You are always the best. Thank you very much for joining us once again, and we will talk to you next week.
I love you guys. Bye.
Robin Haynes, everybody, as we say hello. Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio, the Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Robin. 1 second. I'm struggling to unmute your microphone. Did you freeze? Oh, Robin froze. Well, then we will just boot her. She might have said goodnight. Don't worry, it'll brighten up here in a minute. Always does that. It's kind of weird. All right. Oh my God. Oh, here we go. There we go. Push that through. All right. In a few minutes' time, I will be on WABC with Walter M. Sterling and I guess 20 locations around the United States, including KMOX in St. Louis, WGN in Chicago. You can listen in on the Red Apple Audio Network. So go check that out. That'll be kind of cool. Probably going to get into some UFO stuff tonight. Thank you tonight to Area 55 and Mel WD40. Calvin, how you doing? And tomorrow night on the show, Mark Biltz is going to join us. The meaning of the number of the beast, 666. Kind of makes me think Iron Maiden, doesn't it? We'll talk with him tomorrow night. It'll be interesting. Pastor Mark Biltz, pardon me. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 5 days a week. You're listening entertainment 5 days a week. See you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.